Dr. King calling on people. It's our country. Well, we can't let people take it over. We have to say how we feel. And at the end of the day, whoever has the time to go and talk to Dr. King, my good friend, I love him. He's a sensitive man. Twice Star Person of the Year. But that doesn't stop me talking the truth to him and at him, like I'm doing now. Because, anyway, so he's asking all these people, he's coming to Soufriere, and you got a dozen people tell him what they want of their country, where they see their country going in 5 years. Dr. King knows that there's nobody in St. Lucia can tell you with any amount of veracity, any amount of confidence, where the hell they want the country to go in 5 years. They don't know. Americans don't know where America is going to be a year from now. I'll tell you what we do know, though. We do know that whatever Pappy show this commission gets involved with, or any other commission, there are lots of them, and they will submit their report to the Prime Minister, he's going to do with that report exactly what he did with Susie Dover's proposals for constitutional reform. And I figure that if Dr. King, my friend and senator, did nothing but just talk in the Senate as far as he's allowed to talk in the Senate, and not just Dr. King, all the movers and shakers and the brain boxes and the best brains, sheep. Because if we were not sheep, after 5 years of Susie Dover and her crew going around the country, having meetings, having television interviews, all kinds of things, going to New York, Canada, everywhere, and coming back with proposals for a change, for reforming the Constitution, which almost everybody in this country has said at one time or another needs to be done. But because she came back with the collective view that our prime ministers, not Kenny Anthony, whoever is prime minister, our prime ministers have too much power. And I've told you before, prime ministers of these half-assed little islands have more power, relatively speaking, than Obama. That sucks. We pay for that. That's wrong. So Kenny Anthony simply said they are obsessed with the power of the Prime Minister. I don't think it reflects the true feelings of the people. Put it aside. And proved right there and then he has too much goddamn power. One man. Put it aside. I don't care what what the people told you. I don't think the people know what they're talking about. Because Susie Dover recorded what St. Lucians all over the world and at home had to say about the changes they wanted in our Constitution. The main thing is the Prime Minister too much power. So the Prime Minister showed them how much power he says. He says you're obsessed with the power of the Prime Minister. Set it aside until such time as I'm ready to deal with it. That means never. Dr. King did not protest. Dr. King didn't lead any march. And for that matter, neither did the opposition. In fact, that was the one day in Parliament when they sang in harmony. Harmony. Love, love, love. That's all you got. All we need is love. That's all we got from both sides of the house. And that young man I was talking about a while ago, among the things he said to Andre in his own way, and it enlightened me, was that we talk about we have the opposition in the house and the government, and all the opposition does is oppose and all that kind of crap. And the guy made it quite clear to me what he was saying, that we have we have two opposing sides in the house. So they're both opposition. And we take it in the neck because neither is going to agree with the other. So they're at war, at a constant war, opposing each other. So you have two oppositions, one with more power because one has a couple of fellas more on their side, and the eyes have it. But essentially, it's two opposing groups fighting for their own business in the house, not the business of the people. And that is what has got this guy, and a lot like him, very pissed off that he said he was going to, for the second time apparently, that he was going to join ISIS. Laugh. We'll come to that another time. Now, yesterday, another horror, another week, another horrifying rape. This time again in broad daylight. Reportedly, 2 guys went into a shop, closed the shop, put a closed sign outside it, had their animalistic way with a young woman, and left. And I don't understand, nobody saw, the usual thing, nobody saw, nobody. And of course, the usual outrage, although I dare to say it was not the usual outrage, because a number of people tried to segue into other subjects. Election time. There was that outrage, and I spoke about it before, right after the Prime Minister's New Year's message. I said I could not believe that the Prime Minister spoke about crime and whatnot during his New Year's message, and not a word about a woman who was enjoying our beach at Shock, a mile or so from Castries and police and everything else, a few yards from a popular hotel. And 2 guys at gunpoint took the couple into the bushes, ravaged the woman in front of her man. I don't know where she is right now. I don't even know if she's alive. You don't know if the man is still with her. You don't know what psychological impact this thing had on either of them. We don't know. Sheep, we don't care. The shepherds don't care. So, just as there was a time when somebody fell off a bike and broke his arm, you would find people around the bike and whatnot. Then they stopped that. Then it used to be a car seeing people around them. Then now cars and trucks and everything kill 4, 5, 6, 15 people. No, it's just worth a little news item, etc. So is the rape. People are getting raped here now, and there's less and less expressed concern. But the fact that there is less and less expressed concern doesn't mean it's not having its impact on the people. Because no sane, civilized community can have rape after rape after rape and nothing done about it and be normal. You have to lose everything that's human in you to be able to go to sleep knowing rape is like a game. Your mother, my cousin, my girlfriend, wife, every woman is in danger. Women are an endangered species in St. Lucia. Women. But every once in a while, a commentary comes on. Let me stop right there. Roll tape, Junior. I just told you, man. I only gave you one audio.
To you in the preamble, and some other callers did call your program as well. And I'm saying, but it is really unfair. And today people are calling on the minister to say something, the minister's statement. It is unfair to the minister because our memory here in St. Lucia is too short. It was the same Alvin Reynolds that called for having women to have tasers or the spray, the Acimotion or whatever what you use to describe it. And this is the same media that took her to task. She even went as far as saying that they will have to go through cabinet and to make it legal so women could carry this taser thing or whatever in the hand. And it is really unfair. And to tell me that at least, even the argument at the time when she made the comment, which the persons in the media was saying and all that the criminals will have access to it too. But at the same time, this young woman or this little woman, elderly woman, or any other person would have it in their hands for defense. That was the bottom line. And they took us to task. And today, they are taking task again. And I believe it is this thing. Let me tell you something, Timothy. I want to understand why, when I say you, I don't mean Timothy Polio, why they are linking a rape with politics. Politics and rape. First, that to me, that is a bouillon that nobody will eat. That doesn't taste well. Politics and rape.
I agree with you. Politics and rape makes for a nasty bouillon color. Very nasty bouillon. I agree with you. It's very dirty, stinking. Politics and rape.
But why do people want to link that?
I have not heard anyone created that link. Whenever
yesterday you had particular callers.
Hold on.
This thing before, okay, I'm holding on.
Things happen, and the government of the day. And I have to stress, I've been in this business long enough to realize what is happening right now in terms of questions being asked of the authorities, in this case, Senatorial Labour Party governments. Those same questions were always asked of the previous administration. Okay? Hold on, sir. Hold on, caller. Hold on, please. Hold on.
Okay.
There's nothing new about calling on your minister with responsibility for social transformation, gender relations, and so on, to make a comment. And whether she was criticized or pilloried before, based on statements that she made, is because people disagreed, and people have a right to disagree. Now, the fact we disagreed with whatever recommendation that she offered previously does not mean now that we continue to have a serious problem with rape, that we cannot call upon her again to offer some kind of solution to this issue.
What is, Timothy, let me just say this today. Let me say this to you. The government of St. Lucia, and I wrote a piece some time ago. The government of St. Lucia have laws in, okay? The laws that are in place for rape, I don't know how many years in prison, whether it's 10, whether it's 15, whether it's 20 years. When you take a government to task, is if they don't have laws. Now there are laws. So if a dirty mind guy go and get himself enticed by this woman and go to rape her, you're telling me you're taking a government to task when there are laws?
Okay.
It is up to whoever.
Okay, thank you.
Taking the government to task.
All right,
I cannot
Junior.
understand
But
why.
you just told me the authorities.
I don't understand, sir, why do you make
Junior.
such a kind of outlet?
Thank you. Now, did you hear that? Don't take the government to task. The government passed laws. That's deep, isn't it? The government passed laws against rape. So when people get raped left, right, and center, don't hold the government to task. Don't check them out. That kind of erudition, that kind of fantastic logic is what encourages rape. And I'm sure by now you would want to know, who is this guy and what does he look like? Let me have a look, Junior. That's the guy on the right. I hear he writes speeches for the Prime Minister too. Take a good look at him. Look at that. It's almost obscene. You know, you look in this guy's eyes and it's like it's a girl, you know. I mean, Kenny Anthony, I wonder what's going on in Kenny Anthony's mind. I'm not a sheep, I suppose, but the look in that guy's is almost, it's almost sensual. Who knows? We all get our kicks our own way. But that's enough of that. I don't have any pills. Okay. So this guy is saying that you should not call on the minister responsible for crime in the country to make a public statement. At the very least, although public statements, I mean, in this country, it's a joke. It's a joke. The government passed a law against rape. That's all you need. Don't take government to task. This government didn't pass laws against rape. We have always had laws against rape. Way back when we were colonials, way back. Because we're not savages. Who can remember a time when there was no law against rape? But I'll tell you what you have now. No respect for the law by anybody. Not by the politicians. The Prime Minister said recently that lawmakers in pursuit of justice cannot be seen as lawbreakers. But we know law breaking by the lawmakers is the order of the day. Grindberg involves law breaking, pissing on the Constitution where the Governor General is concerned. Think about it. Think about how many laws our lawmakers, every time there is a belated guarantee to go on in the House, the law is broken. In fact, I was talking to a politician yesterday, a member of the opposition, of course. And I said to him, I did not understand all the talk whenever a loan is about to be belatedly guaranteed, because you cannot guarantee after the fact. That's ridiculous. It's redundant and stupid. So why it is that every time you know there's about to be a belated guarantee going through the House, why don't you stay home as a protest and let people know you will have no part in pissing on the Constitution and pissing on our laws? Hasn't occurred to them. Hasn't occurred to them. When you do nothing about law breaking, you become a lawbreaker yourself. So there, you wonder why rape is so commonplace. There are a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. But what you just saw there a while ago is another one. No embarrassment. The Prime Minister ought to be embarrassed to be in the company of this guy, let alone take pictures. And it doesn't stop there. Junior, did you get a screenshot of relating to this? Okay, I may have it here. And bear with me, people. Bear with me. I'm not so hot on this stuff. Bear with me. The guy had no shame. He actually went on Facebook, and somebody said that to me. Was that? That's it. That is it. You think our audience can read that? They can read that? Please put it on. I mean, two people. One person says to him, I don't call his name because I don't have any pills, and if I call his name, I know I'm going to be bouleversed. Okay? So I'm going to tell you the blob you saw on Kenny there a while ago, the shadow, or whatever it was, shadow man. Okay? How did he call his name? How did he turn the hit? Because he's claiming Timothy for the hit. Well, perhaps I should read that part first. After my contribution on Newspin today, Tim turned the heat on me. I guess I had him cornered, so he had no choice but to make his callers focus on me. How can the powers that be take responsibility for rape? Shaking my head. You see what suffering fools gladly does? You gotta let a fool know he's a fool, because this fool is going to go around, if you say nothing, believing he's wise enough to show off his stupidity on Facebook. So he puts on Facebook again, after talking this load of nonsense I just played there, ignorance. After my contribution on Newspin today, Tim turned his heat on me. I guess I had him cornered. He had Tim cornered. So he had no choice but to make his callers focus on me. Now, how does Tim make his callers focus on the guy? Anyway, how can the powers that be take responsibility? And so somebody else says, calls his name, how did Tim turn the heat on you? The caller after you, the one who gave you some serious pressure, Tim had nothing to do with that. Then the other one says, calling his name again, I thought I heard Shazzy, but was that you? Of course, Shazzy is busy at his restaurant. So Shazzy, he still finds time to call. But that's another story again. I understand that Shazzy and the woman he works with, the Walker girl in Martinique, do not use the same entry and the doors at the office. They use separate doors. That's how close they're working for the benefit of St. Lucia. Okay, I have a guest this evening. I don't want to show him yet. And I just want to say some quick words. You heard all the, I don't know why. I just don't get it. The Jufali case seems to fascinate people only from the aspect of whether the woman was greedy. Why didn't she do this and why didn't she do that? Even calling the judge names and all kinds of stuff. When the only part of that concerns us is that the Prime Minister chose this man. I don't know how the choice came about because he doesn't live here and we never heard of him. He had never done anything for St. Lucia. But how he got there, this guy, on his boat, I understand, and the next thing, he was armed with a diplomatic position on the IMO, which afforded him immunity. Never mind what the convention, the Vienna Convention says. How the guy did this ought to concern us. We ought to be concerned as to why the Prime Minister never made an announcement about that appointment until we were getting bad vibes all over the UK and everywhere else on account of this guy's court case. That's what we should be worrying about. I hear all kinds of people saying all kinds of things about the result of the case and what the appeal will do. Whether the guy wins his appeal or not, we look like crap. We look like a little island selling ourselves to any. I read last week the kind of ads that go out to people like Jufali, and I was reading another one today relating to Dominica. Similar stuff. The enticements and the number of deals that are done privately. Money's being put into and somebody sent me something today about a private bank called Petrus Private Bank, and I haven't had the time to check it properly, but I've never heard of I have no idea what a private bank is, but that bank apparently has some very, very strange rules, very strange rules, and the mind boggles as to what its potential is. But anyway, we stop there for now. Just remember that whatever comes out of the Jufali case, we are getting it in the neck. Bad publicity. Bad publicity. Stay tuned. When we get back, my guest. They say babes, whatever in the Bible. And that's true. I get a lot of that. I told you before that I said, don't give up, give them up. And by the way, I have some news for you on that later on. And these young students from Corinth said, oh, we like it. But it'd be better if you said, don't give up, set them up. So out of the mouth of babes. And so last week, I talked again about Kenny Anthony's statement, the Prime Minister's statement about something on Facebook. This Facebook thing, people call it the trash can of stupidity. I don't know why our Prime Minister, who is such a well qualified, what is this guy doing on Facebook? I read the stuff every now and again, what he has on Facebook, and it's as much garbage as his speechwriter. But then again, perhaps somebody's impersonating him. Now, I said last week that whoever is impersonating the Prime Minister on Facebook ought to be given the same award that Shuguri got, which is to say the top award St. Lucia can give. Because it ain't easy impersonating a guy with 4 and 5 faces. I said so last week. And so I met a young person, and she says, you know, Rick, what's the big deal about people impersonating our Prime Minister? He says, Tony has been impersonating Kenny for years and nobody complained. Nobody complained. Okay. My guest is hardly needs any introduction, but I have invited him on for a very, very special reason. And while it has nothing to do with politics as such, I have no doubt that we will find our way into politics. He is well known. He actually visited the Queen a few years ago at the behest of our Prime Minister, who figured he was a wonder-kind in commerce. In fact, my guest used to be at every other day at some school lecturing kids about business and how to save and all these good things and everything. And so he was even given an ambassadorship, and I think we'll hear all about that. But all of that suddenly changed. But the reason he's here is because he has written a book about his life, at least some of it, and that book is going to be launched on Saturday at the Yard, which is at the Star. It's a new emporium we have there. I'll be telling you a lot more about the Yard next week. Because after this launching, I will have some tape and the people there. It's fascinating. It's some place that artists, writers, singers, guys who want to discuss the business in the country will be able to come to read. It's going to be an outlet for local authors. By the way, you know, there's no bookstore in St. Lucia. So we have some great writers, uncelebrated. We're going to try to do something about that. I'm talking right now about Mr. Michael Chastanet. Mike.
Well, lovely to be here, Mr. Rick.
It's lovely to be here?
Yes, sir.
Well, you mightn't like it if
I know it's your show.
Well, we know that. Everybody knows that. Mike, I was talking a while ago there about all those laurels that were placed on you not so long ago. You were given what diploma? What was it?
I got an OB.
An OB.
Yeah, and I was an ambassador. Yeah, a goodwill ambassador. Yeah, under the Kenny Anthony regime when he first got into power. And like yourself, both of us served Kenny Anthony well. You were.
I never served Kenny Anthony.
You were very instrumental in getting him into power.
Oh well, that might be. But I never served Kenny. When I did what I did it for the country.
Yeah. Well, no. But in all fairness, when Dr. Anthony got into power, I have to say that I had a lot of time for him, and we had a very good relationship.
He apparently had a lot of time for you.
I would say both, Rick. But
I said he apparently had for you. I'm not interested in your side of it.
Yes, I would assume he did have
because
time.
that's why. Because I mean, he can't give you a higher honor than to send you to meet the Queen and everything else.
Yeah. Well,
so what the hell happened?
Yeah. Well, using your phrase, there's a lot of water under the bridge.
No, it's not. Water under the bridge, Mike, is when everything is forgiven and you pretend it never happened.
I'm talking of St. Lucia water under the bridge. Anyway,
that's the St. Lucia water under the bridge too.
Anyway, let's get back to the real crunch of the story. I had a good relationship, I consider, with Dr. Anthony for many years. Okay, but one thing that I always respected and recognized was that Dr. Anthony is the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, and like you said a while ago in your opening remarks, Prime Ministers have a lot of power, okay? And I'm fully aware of that. So I knew my place with Dr. Anthony. I did what I had to do, okay? If I made a recommendation,
That sounds very cheap, you know.
No, not at all.
You know your place.
I don't beat my head against the wall unnecessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And the man was the prime minister. He earned the position to be there, and he had to get the respect. So I did what I had to do, and when to make a long story short, when Dr. Ante lost the elections, the situation was not the same. Okay, because when people lose elections, they find fault with everybody around, and the rest is history.
Mike,
and I don't want to go in that direction.
You've been on this show before, and you know we don't talk in code on this show. We don't talk. We don't talk in code. What you're saying there is the Prime Minister blamed you for.
I didn't say so.
Because he did say that you and Butch messed him up.
Well,
that was well known.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
You didn't hear that?
No.
Okay. So, all right. So we'll do a quick segue into your book, and this is the book, folks. We're launching this. It's quite a big deal. All of Michael's friends and people who bought the book, apparently, we've had a bunch of confirmation. A lot of people, Mike. Well, I didn't know you had so many friends and fans.
Yep.
Because a lot of people have confirmed that they're going to be at the yard tomorrow.
Right.
Now, why did you? Let me. How many pages do we have here? I couldn't understand, Mike, how you could write an autobiography with 120 pages.
Yeah.
How was that? How that's not possible. But you did.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy who lived the life you've lived.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's room for another book.
A lot of room.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Actually, many people persuaded me to write a book for a very long time, and you know, I had many things doing, and I really wasn't up to it until some very dear friends of mine insisted. As a matter of fact, it's in my book. A good friend of mine in Barbados, Mr. Edgehill, his wife actually came and gave me a pad and paper and said, "I need you to start it now." Yeah, and so many people had told me about it. I took the initiative to do it, and I'm glad I did it. It's the first step, and I will write another book. Yeah.
It's called Room at the Top. Yeah. Why Room at the Top?
Well,
the title.
Try to analyze it, Rick. Yeah, because there's a lot of room at the top. Yeah, because people who want to work hard and better themselves, there's place at the top.
A lot of people don't know, Mike, how humble your roots were, where you came from.
I know.
And I say humble, but that's not a word I like.
Yeah.
But people, the general feeling is this guy has got money coming out of his nose, which is true. but that you always had. You always had it. But I remember as a kid in Labrie, and it was the Canneries, it was the Jewel. What was the other one? David.
Michael David.
Talk to me a little bit about those books.
Okay, first of all, it's interesting that you brought up the subject because my good friend Mr. Paul Hackshaw knew I was coming on the show tonight, and he said, you know, Shas, you have to let St. Lucia know where you came from, because many people mix up the name Chastanet and think you were part of Menville and Chastanet, and that is not so. Just I want St. Lucia to know one thing, that the owner of Menville and Chastanet was a gentleman called Charles Chastanet, who was married and had 2 daughters. My father was an illegitimate child. He had a brother and a sister, and the mother was from Castries, and my father was not even sent to school by his father. His mother opened up a small bakery. As a matter of fact, that bakery was located exactly where Jimmy Fletcher's dad had his taxi business, somewhere by
Grass Street area,
whatever it is. And I got to know Jimmy Fletcher's father well, and I got my father to hand over at a very small price that land to Jimmy's father. But that's by the way. Going back to myself, so we were actually very, very humble people. Came from a family of 10, 5 boys and 5 girls. Yeah, And
what did your mother do?
my mother was a housewife originally, but shortly, I wouldn't say shortly, around the time I was born, things were so difficult.
You are what?
Number 9 out of 10.
Oh.
Yeah. And by then, things were so difficult. My mother went down one day to Old Man Clark's drugstore, who was friendly with my dad, and my mother said to him, things are so difficult, I need some help. And he lent her $100. With that $100, she started a bakery, mixing a half a bag of flour a night. And that's how my mother started. And I remember my mother getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to sell bread. Okay.
And your father was at the time working at MNC?
My father, yes.
As what?
My father worked in the government all the time, but he had just retired.
He worked in the government?
My father was control of customs for over 25 years.
Okay.
And my father then took a job at MNC's because they had some difficulties with their grocery and hardware, and he was managing that.
But go on with your mother making the bread.
Yeah, so my mother made it, and then that is how. And my mother was the one that she was quite aggressive, and she told my father, "You can't just continue working for people." And her father had a little ferry called the Canaries, which her father, and it had sunk in the Prince Alfred Basin, and they floated it, okay, and he fixed it up.
Of course, most people, I was going to say most kids, but I wonder how many people know where the heck it was the Prince Alfred Basin.
I know, yeah.
You should say where it is.
Yeah, Prince Alfred Basin is exactly where the Banana Association building is, around that.
That was filled in.
That fenced off area. Yeah, which was a lovely place.
But let me interrupt that.
Yeah.
On reflection, do you think that was a good thing?
Definitely not. I beg John Compton not to do it, because to me that was our little Venice. Both could come right up there. I actually flew down from Puerto Rico once and begged him, but again, he's a prime minister.
Yeah. Well, and of course, John Compton always thought he was an engineer and everything else. But let's move on. So the Canaries
and
floated up.
My father started to trade down the coast with the Canaries, and I was at school, very young, 13 years of age, 12, 13 years of age, and I started helping with little things to do with the boat, and that attracted me. When I left school, about 16 years of age, even in the holidays, like everything else, the boat would go down and carry passengers, and then fellas would be giving him half the money. And when he said, "But look, I checked 30 people on board," he said, "Well, there were 15 adults and 15 children." Another time, we used to bring up cattle from Soufrière, and my father would check 6 cows coming ashore, and they would only pay him for half. He said, "Well, there were 3 young ones." All kind of stories. So my father would say to me, "Go down and check." So I would take the Canaries, because those days there were no buses to get down to Soufrière. Everything was by boat. So we would leave Castries about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, get to Soufrière. From Soufrière, go to Choiseul, from Choiseul to Labrie, from Labrie to Vieux-Fort. And I used to take my little blanket with me and bunk at the fire station on the dock in Vieux-Fort, right? 2-3 times a week, okay? Play dominoes with the police guys and come up. And that was really where I started. So nobody gave me anything. And
but what about the other 2 boats?
Yes. After the years, I started the Michael David with my brother David. Yeah, we built it in the Conway. Yeah, and then when the boat took a little over a year to be built, and then my brother said to me, he doesn't want to do that. That's not his style. So he went away. So I stayed, and I went to sea for 6 months on the boat, and it was tough. But it was successful. So I built a second boat called the Christine Sea.
I want you to know, by the way, I vomited a lot on the Canaries, huh?
That's right.
And
that was a short haul. Well, that's just a 2-hour run up and down.
I vomited a lot.
Now just figure, I'm going to Trinidad on Michael David, taking 22 hours, and I'm vomiting for 22 hours. I lost 60 pounds.
I suspect if the Canaries turned me off boat spirit. So
anyway,
all right. So you did your boats and so on.
I did my boats. Yeah.
What do you think really gave you a real thrust in your success? What was the real big opportunity?
The opportunity is, it started, you can say, from a very young age. Loving what you're going to do. I just love to see a boat move, and plus the fact that it was able to.
So what I'm getting at is what you're saying is the boating business that gave you the financial foundation?
Yes. No question. And I was onto something, and in life, Rick, you have to love what you're doing. Many people, if you don't love it, forget. The passion has to be there. And anyway, I was successful in those boats, and then one day I was reading a National Geographic magazine and saw that in Holland that the government persuaded the ship owners to sell their ships when they were 15 years old to keep the shipyards going. And
sell the ships to whom?
Whoever wants to buy, to the Greeks, to anybody at all, okay, in Holland. I just happened to see that, and I made some inquiries, and I went to Holland about a couple of months later, and I was aghast when I went there, and I saw so many ships for sale. It's almost like going into a store to buy something on a shelf. Okay, and I negotiated for a ship called the Albatross in 1966. Okay, that was a 400-ton ship. Imagine the Michael David was 80 tons, and it probably cost me then maybe 60,000-70,000 EC dollars to build, and I could get a 400-ton ship for 150,000 EC dollars. And I'm getting that ship in 48 hours. I don't have to wait a year.
So
a well-built ship.
So how long did you keep that boat?
I kept that for about 3 years.
When did you get out of the boating thing?
1982.
To do what?
Come back to St. Lucia.
Okay, all right.
But remember, let me fast track that. That was my first ship, and then I made a formula, or created a formula then, that every ship I buy should pay for itself in 3 years and sell it for the same price I bought it. Because like in St. Lucia, years ago, when somebody wanted a second-hand car, they say, well, Rick Wayne, I'll buy his car because he takes care of his car.
Yeah, they still do.
Same
like
thing with a ship.
Yeah.
They were afraid to go to Europe. So when they would see the ship operate 2-3 years, they thought they could buy it.
Yeah.
They didn't have to cross the Atlantic. And to make a long story short, I figured that St. Lucia got a little tight for the shipping business because I didn't see the scope of filling a ship, although I had a contract. I decided one day within 90 days I'm going to go to Puerto Rico because there was more scope there. I went there. It was a very good move on my part. I spent 5 years there. From there, I went on to Florida for a year, went on to New York. And to fast track the whole thing, I bought and sold about 18 ships in that period. And it was
profitably?
Sorry?
Profitably?
Oh yes. Like everything else, there were about three ships that, I don't want to use the word jinx, but they didn't perform because you're buying second-hand ships. You don't know what you're buying, you know.
Let me ask you,
sure.
Did the advent of the buses with the buses
kill the business?
Yeah,
that happened. Because the buses would take a passenger from their home and bring them straight to Castries, whereas before they had to bring it down. But what was quite interesting for me was when I went to New York. I went there because a German broker who heard of me invited me to his office. He had a beautiful office on 52 Broadway, about 18,000 square foot office, and he said he was a broker. He wanted someone to teach him how to buy and operate a ship. And I couldn't believe, there's a guy from Germany and talking to a boy from Castries. But anyway, I guess I was known, and he invited me, and I stayed about 10 years at his office in New York. And I got into a different type of shipping when there, because when I was in Puerto Rico, I did my own brokerage and my own agency. But up there, he did international brokerage, and I started going all over the world with the ships, you know. For instance, we started in New Orleans. We'd go down to Venezuela. From Venezuela, we'd go 800 miles up the Amazon, load lumber, come up, and it was an amazing thing. They have something called a ticker machine in his office, and he takes a radius of where he wants to operate, and whenever goods are sold, he just makes a note of it. He charges me a commission. Okay, you're going to go to Venezuela, and then from there you go here, you go to Montreal, and then we started trading to Africa and all these places, Cape Town, and they went to the Pacific side through the Panama Canal. It was really an interest, and I loved what I did. And when I was about 48 years of age, I said, look, that's enough.
At what point did you get married and start a family?
Oh, I got married when I was quite young. I was 23 years of age when I got married.
So when you were doing all of that, you were married?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I never spent more than 10 days at home for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you have time to do the action to produce all these guys?
Well, we had to find time.
but you only have two kids anyway.
No, I have 4 kids.
4 kids.
Yeah. But that was really quite interesting.
So what attracted you to the supermarket business?
Well,
that's what you're particularly famous for here.
I know, and that only came, by the way, because when I came back, I used to come and see my dad quite regularly when I lived in Puerto Rico in the States. And you know, when you live in a, like yourself, and you see all those beautiful supermarkets, and I came to St. Lucia, and it was pathetic what I saw. There was no supermarket; there were grocery stores.
Yeah.
And I took the initiative to build the first shopping mall, which is Gablewoods, and I rented it out to. When I tried to rent the supermarket, no merchant in St. Lucia would rent the supermarket. It actually stayed closed. And as a matter of fact, Al Heyman, who had a nice shop.
Al Heyman, who was the first owner of Rain.
That's right.
Rain, yeah.
He built a beautiful restaurant at the mall, and I told him I'd left the place for supermarket, and he got all the customers together to say not to pay me the full rent until I put a supermarket. Yeah, but anyway.
Wait a minute. Al Heyman had Rain on Brazil Street.
Yes, but he had a place called the Patio.
Okay, yeah.
A beautiful place. It was really well attended.
Yeah.
Anyway, I called Al and I told him, look at me. You may be a Harvard graduate, but you're talking a lot of nonsense, okay? Yeah.
He was also a major advertising guy.
I know.
Walter Thompson.
He knew his business,
yeah.
So anyway, to make a long story short, I went to Barbados and got a gentleman called Neville Rowe Julian Supermarket and asked him if he'd come here because nobody wanted to rent the place. And he came down, and it only took him one day when he went through cash. He said there's no competition. So he decided to come in. And you know what happened there. Yeah. When that place opened, it was tremendous. I mean, we had to get police to control the people inside there. Anyway, we went along, and then 2 years later, there were 2 robberies at the mall. And he said he's going to leave. But I still question why Mr. Rowe left. He was a fantastic marketing guy, a bit on the arrogant side. And when he told me he built a place in Barbados for 140,000 square feet, I said, you know, Brother Neville, this is too big. But he didn't want to listen. And he finally, one day, just closed the doors around, it was about the 8th or 10th of December. Just closed it and left. Anyway, there was a lot of negotiations which took place, and
so you got a sweetheart deal?
No, not at all. Not at all. I paid the top dollar for it. By then, I was just buying the stock because the building was mine, the equipment was his, and the stock, and we paid over $7 million for that. Yeah, but it was at the end. I was a bit nervous, to be honest, and I took my cousin Andre, who I'd not known at all.
Whom you've always given credit. Yeah, a lot of credit.
Oh, yeah. And Andre was just. I mean, it's a stroke of luck to have got him. Yeah. A good accountant, and he loved what he was doing, although he advised me not to buy the place, and when he saw the returns, you know, but I said I had no choice because the mall would fail, and he took it over, and Andre put his shoulder to the blade, and it was successful, and you know, he just focused on what he's doing, and then we built the second one we built was in Beaufort, and then we built Rodney.
I remember the one in Beaufort.
Yeah.
That was opened in 1997.
That's correct.
And I remember also that what the Prime Minister said at the time when he opened it. Let's see if you remember.
I don't remember.
Oh. Yeah. He said that he was going to bring castries to Beaufort.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was his way of saying he was going to develop Beaufort.
Yeah.
But he was going to bring he going to turn Castries. He was going to turn Beaufort into Castries. Yeah. But we always hear those things about Beaufort, didn't we?
I know.
Because John Compton, what did he call it?
New Frontier.
The New Frontier.
Yeah.
It's still the new front. What?
You see, the
Front to back.
problem with you, Fort Rick, you need some infrastructure down there, and there's such a lot of space to do so many things, and but that's for another show.
Mike, let me get quickly.
Sure.
Your involvement in politics. How did that happen?
Well, you know, if you want to go back, for instance, actually with Kenny Anthony, so to speak, and yourself, when you came down and you rented from me that warehouse at the back, you remember? We had a lot of discussions, and I blame you for it.
I know.
But and you know, when Dr. Anthony came into St. Lucia, you know, John Compton had been in power for a long time. Everybody wanted change. You wanted a change, and Kenny could walk on water then, and he had a lot of help going to him, you know. But I don't know what happened along the lines, but I don't want to go there tonight. But that's how I first became involved in politics, if you want to call it that, okay? And of course, what has accentuated the situation is my son going into politics.
Yeah, but you know you were blamed. I know you're ducking that. But you were blamed for conspiring with Butch Stewart.
Which was utter nonsense.
With the
I know, the firing of the people.
And the labor code thing. How much truth was there in that?
People say these things.
Well, it was more than just people said
but
those
I don't.
things.
You know, when something is incorrect, Rick, it's like water off a duck. It doesn't bother me one bit. Okay, I know I did nothing wrong. I was not involved in any rascality or undermining anybody. I think Kenny lost elections because he didn't listen. He was told to call the election 6 months before he called it, and he allowed John Compton to come in and what's the word should I use?
I don't think it's as easy as that, but that's not the night for it. What kind of reaction are you getting from friends about your book? People or readers of your book?
Fantastic. You see, because many people were not, as you pointed out earlier on, were not really aware who Michael Chastanet was. Many people feel that I was born with a gold spoon, and I hope tonight that puts the matter to rest as far as that is concerned.
Okay. How did you feel to hear the Prime Minister himself saying that the next election will be the Labour Party versus the Chastanets? How did you take that?
Again, you know, I was shocked that a man of Dr. Anthony's intellect, and more importantly, an individual who I had a relatively good relationship, would utter such words.
Let me tell you what I often said about you. I said that to your son. Well, because we talk.
Sure.
And I said to him, you know, I don't think your father really wants you in politics. I said to him that if your father had the opportunity to shake hands with Kenny and say, let's forget all that crap, he would do it. That's my feeling.
And you're nearly right.
And dissuade his son from getting into politics. Am I close? Am I close?
You're very close. Because, you know, if I wanted to get in politics, when you were talking to me down there, and that was in 1987, right? You see? That is 10 years before Dr. Anthony got into power. I would have gone into politics, okay? I had the energy, I had the strength. I think I have the charisma to go into politics. But I was happier in what I was doing, and let somebody else do that and help them. But as I said, Alan being in politics today.
How do you feel about him being in politics right now?
Well,
are you still ambivalent? You're not sure?
As of today, I think Alan did the right thing. As of today, many people who may want to decry Alan, I'm saying to St. Lucia, don't decry Alan and don't underestimate.
Let me ask you, do you really think that Alan can be a better Prime Minister for St. Lucia at this time than Kenny Anthony is at this time?
I would say yes, Rick, and I'll tell you why. I think Dr. Anthony is tired. He has done, you know, when you figure he worked 3 terms and 1 in opposition, that's 20 years in government, okay? I think while he was in opposition, it took a harder toll on his life than the Prime Minister, because he said he was in purgatory, and that's not easy. But I think generally 2 terms for anybody is more than enough.
John Compton had about how many terms?
Sorry?
John Compton had a lot of terms.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it right. Yeah, doesn't make it right. Yeah.
You know what sometimes, because you know the problem with most reporters, media people, and even the people who talk politics, they don't have a backstory. They more or less go back 2 years and whatever. And if you're able to go back to John Compton, and maybe even before that you're old enough and you're still okay, then you can see a lot of things that the average person does not see. And I see Kenny Anthony right now where Compton was before he handed
over to Vaughan. Yeah.
Compton was inundated.
Yeah.
Kenny Anthony is right now absolutely inundated, and I don't think, and I'm kind of agreeing with you, I don't think he has the energy, the drive, or the motivation. And I guess too, in Kenny Anthony's position, you also see the worst part of people as well, because people will kiss your butt and everything to get what they want while hating you.
That's right.
So I think these things take a toll. And I think too, this whole thing about so many terms, after a while a guy runs out, because especially in our environment, the Prime Minister is everything, whether he wants it. So that's what maybe he wants it, but Prime Minister, I think he's extremely tired. He's run out of ideas, totally run out of ideas. Let me just finish that.
And one of the major problems that he has is that because he has had some bad luck in the past with certain positions, say like Rochemel and those kind of things.
Why you go?
No. Hold on, I'm not yet finished. Kenny is very cautious with the money. He controls that purse string, and many of his ministers will tell you today that he micromanages.
But he's supposed to.
Yeah, but
he's supposed not to spend money because he ain't got it. Okay, because spending money means that everybody else is the one spending the money. It's not his money that's being spent.
That's true. But he can't.
And by the way, Rochemel was not a bad luck. Rochemel was a calculated move. All the scandals were calculated moves. Look where we are right now. We are at war with almost every country. The EU are thoroughly pissed off about impacts. It didn't help when the Prime Minister recently said he was going to do a deal. He'd hire a couple of lawyers to lobby for him. That's ridiculous. Makes no sense in the circumstances, none at all. I was informed that the French are very, very annoyed with him.
Well, I saw it on TV.
So what on TV?
The ambassador. What he said.
But I'm going past that. The ambassador was very. In fact, they all said that they would have been in St. Lucia, come to St. Lucia to see the Prime Minister anyway, even without impacts, because the justice system in the country had absolutely broken down, and it was having effect on their citizens who come here or to visit.
The Frenchman in jail.
Okay, I'm coming to that. So there's a particular French citizen at Baudelaire. He's been waiting 4 years for trial, like the other guys have been waiting 9 years and 11 years, and all of that is against the Constitution, Mike. That means these people are being illegally held. Okay, so when I talk about lawmakers being lawbreakers, and my information is from pretty good source that at Independence, what is the boat's name now? Ventos. It's a navy, French navy boat. Ventos. Every year,
it comes in.
Independence comes and they parade at the field and they play football and the thing. It will not be here this time around. Protest.
Wow.
The French is pissed off with what's happening as far as. I also understand that the French have not withdrawn financial support, but that they will not be making any new
investments.
And when you think Alliance Française have been wonderful to the country.
Certainly.
Okay, I think French. And surprise, I understand that there was a meeting in September with the US and the Taiwanese. And what came out of that was that the Taiwanese are no longer going to give the kind of support they were giving. They will cut it down drastically.
Right.
That may also have to do with the new regime. And they are on America's side vis-a-vis impacts and so on. So I don't know who are our friends right now. Maybe the Russians? Because we seem to be making enemies everywhere.
Yeah. You know, it's frightening because when you look, you have 2 British Airways a day and a Virgin, just 3 British planes coming in. And when you go back to this Jufali affair, where a British judge is making a statement, and we have our government saying they're
commenting on the verdict,
on the appeal that's going to take place. You know, it sends a wrong signal to the British government. And as you say, these are our
another
friends.
interesting point on that. There was a similar case, Jufali, the big difference being that Jufali had no connection, no post, no nothing at all. Okay, and the judge ultimately said that he couldn't see any reason at all for that thing, and so he had it for one reason. He had all the evidence and he added up his thing, and he came to the conclusion that the guy wanted an immunity thing against his wife, etc., etc. There's a previous case as well, a previous wife. In fact, I received the judgment on that today, which is all very interesting. But the Prime Minister of Qatar, who was accused by one of his own people of torture and so on, he claimed immunity and had his way. The court found for him because he was Prime Minister, he held the post, all the things, and he had real diplomatic immunity. Whereas this other guy had nothing whatsoever. He never worked as a diplomat. He's been ill all this time. They can't find any. They can't even determine the guy was ever a diplomat for real. Quite apart from the Vienna Convention that says you cannot benefit personally from immunity, etc. So all of those things, what bothers me about them is not so much the people's private stuff. It is the kind of press right now in England. In fact, not right now. For some time in England, the papers like the Times, top paper, have been complaining about the quality of diplomats they're getting in England and how these guys are costing the British taxpayer millions and millions for taxes not paid and like the congestion thing they have in England and so on. And in fact, I have this from the Times, a note there. It's very interesting. And the Times said last Thursday or Thursday before last, the courts should not be the principal check and balance on the scope of diplomatic immunity. Not the courts. That is up to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. The Vienna Convention of 1961 enshrined the principle of ensuring diplomats are given safe passage and not susceptible to legal proceedings in the host country. However, no one would have foreseen the abuse of the concept in recent times, with some diplomats behaving as though it rendered them above the law. And there's a whole movement there. Now, here's what's also interesting. I've been hearing the commentators here saying, how dare the court deal with the Jufali case that should be dealt with by the FOC, by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and so on. But nevertheless, the guy who said that as well, he repeated that in his case, he dealt with the Qatar case anyway. Okay. But the irony of that is our Prime Minister, when the Foreign and Commonwealth Office wrote to him requesting, that's nice diplomatic talk, requesting that he waive the immunity to allow the woman to bring her case to be heard in court. The Prime Minister wrote back to them and said to them, that is a matter for the courts. So here you have
now the courts are active.
But all the hacks and everybody is calling and saying that's for the FC or the Foreign Commonwealth Office. But when the Commonwealth Office wrote to the Prime Minister, he dissed them off and told them that's for the courts, and he issued a press release to that effect. So
where does one go from there?
Where do you go from there? It's a whole joke, and that whole thing is a mess, Mike. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, your calls. Stay tuned. Welcome back. What's going on here, Junior? You fix it up. I hope not for you. Okay. Let me read one or two chat room. I love the chat room, so keep it coming, you guys. Great life story of a man starting from scratch. Another person says, I just got a renewed respect for Michael Chastanet after hearing how he developed his empire. Maybe you should run. maybe you should run, Mike. Yeah. Okay. So let me again say on Saturday, there'll be this big launching of Mike's book, and it's I suppose I should stay just with the book for now. Okay, he'll be launching this. It's available where? At the Yard? The Yard is selling this, Mike?
At the Yard.
The Yard? Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you want to know where the Yard is at the Star, a new building thing we have here, a store. I told you so earlier on. Come and find out. Anyway. Say what? I am very concerned about what's going on in my country. I am 38 years old and I've never experienced such terror, humiliation and embarrassment. I see we are heading for a revolution, one that shall cause an effect. As Lou Farrakhan says, justice or else. Whoever wrote that, I want to agree with you, and I'm scared, witless, that we're going to have serious problems. ISIS is recruiting in Jamaica, in Trinidad. They've already said that. And what I heard that young man saying is exactly what all the news programs tell you is the ISIS people are after. These disenchanted young people who figure they have nothing to lose. Talk to me. Hello?
Hello, Rick.
Yeah?
Good night.
Hi.
Good night, Mike.
Good night.
Mike, I have two questions for you. Is it true that you wanted to buy a spot from Archie Morez to put a supermarket?
No, sorry. I wanted to buy a spot to put the Coco Palm Hotel.
Coco Palm?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to put there.
Space for that?
And actually, you know that spot where the fishing boats come, just by the side there, and everything was done, but at the last minute, Arch put down some heavy restrictions, which I didn't think was right, and I didn't go along with it.
Well, that was my understanding.
Here's your camera over here, Mike.
That was my understanding. You wanted to put a supermarket there.
Yeah.
Now, the second one.
Yeah.
Is it true that you want to be the Governor General?
Not at all. No.
Carla,
I think you know me very well there.
Carla,
I wouldn't change my life now. At my stage of life, I want peace and quietness.
Well, my understanding that your son want to be the Prime Minister and you want to be Governor General.
No, not at all. No, that's incorrect, my brother.
Because you don't win yet.
Yeah, no.
Is that Arthur?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my question.
Take care, brother.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the guy sounded like Arthur. I wondered. I always pick on him. Talk to me. Hello?
Rick, it's May.
Talk to me.
Where the t-shirts I gave you to promote? On the book yard.
That's me.
Oh, that's me?
Yes, that's your wife.
Oh my God. Is that the first time we've had that, Junior? It would take Michael Chastanet. It would take Michael Chastanet, first of all, to have my wife up at this time and calling. That has never happened in 20 years.
Because I'm watching to make sure you know where your bread is buttered. Michael Chastanet is our friend. And I have a store opening called the Book Yard, and and you were supposed to do some homework. Good night.
Mrs. Wayne, go to sleep.
Thank you so much, May. That's very nice.
I've never had a call here.
There you go. Okay. I'm going to charge you for that one.
Tell Junior I'm having problems with I'm a little louder. We have Rick. Our young people think it's okay to rape to get in high positions in our society, since there are accused rapists in high positions in our country. That's not what he said. He said something worse than that. Oh boy, so it's terrible. Talk to me. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Just a question for Michael. Michael, when you said that you wouldn't trust your son with your own business, what did you really mean by that? You said that some time ago.
Well, I think you have that information totally cockeyed. I never said so. So that was just a rumor started by certain individuals to discredit Alan. And if that was so, do you think I would even say that about my son? But that's a conversation I don't want to have because it's totally false and irrelevant.
But let me ask you a second question.
Sure, go ahead.
Sometimes everything, the majority, about 80% of the things you've said have been discredited by people saying, no, he's lied.
Well, you try one, caller. Which one? Give me one. Give me one, caller.
Let me tell you something. No, I can respond to him.
He's gone.
Yeah. No, but I want to respond to this guy.
Why?
No, not well. You know, when people say things, I just want to know.
Look, man, I want questions of interest here. I'm not going to lower the caliber. I don't get those kind of calls. Talk to me.
Yeah, good night, Rick.
Hi.
And good night to Mr. Chastanet.
Good night, my brother.
Yeah, I want to congratulate you, Mr. Chastanet, for taking the time to put your life story in a book so that the young generation coming behind can see how you did it, and not necessarily someone else taking time off to write about you.
Correct.
Now, earlier on, I heard you and Rick speaking about flip-flops, more or less. You all did not say flip-flops.
About what?
Flip-flops.
Flip-flops
in government.
Flip-flop in government.
I don't think I talked about flip-flop, but go ahead.
The flip-flops.
Go ahead.
What I want to say is that if I had the privilege to advise our Prime Minister, I would advise him to ensure that he calls elections by the end of the March period.
Why is that?
So that he would not have to deal with the European Union.
Caller, let me say something to you. That's the problem. We must not see that as something that is Kenny's thing. It is a St. Lucia thing. And whatever government is in office, they will have to take responsibility for it,
Well, of course, they not take responsibility. I mean, for the country, because of the way in which the Prime Minister is involved, I don't think he would be able to
extricate himself.
That's right. I've said that before too.
I don't think he will be in a position to remedy the situation at all.
Caller, I have a suspicion that the EU people, 28th state, and the Americans are upset for other things that we don't know about impacts, that they're upset about certain things. And they know very well that this Prime Minister would have to be the first witness in anything coming before the court on that. He would have to be the first witness and not be the guy who is arranging the investigations and supplying the terms of reference and so on. It's ridiculous.
Now, I've listened to some news with regards to our Minister for Home Affairs. Rick, since when, after the House has been dissolved, that you continue to have a Minister of Justice and Home Affairs and so on?
But when did you have that?
No, but the minister is talking about in this election how they will not tolerate this and tolerate that.
Caller, I said last week that vis-a-vis his statement that they will have to perhaps rethink things and maybe even consider hanging people of 15 and 16, all that kind of crap. And I said that the normal thing is when situations like that come up, the courts, even before it goes to court, an evaluation, psychological evaluation is ordered, right? And I figure that the guy most in need of a psychological evaluation is our Justice Minister,
Yeah, because,
I really believe that.
It is absurd that
and also, caller, the arrogance with which he's saying that, I will not tolerate that. I will not this. That is the guy who, when he was campaigning, pulled a gun on a potential voter.
Rick,
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Or why you just letting that pass through?
No, I heard that, and I mean that has been out there, so there's no.
It's not that has been out there. That's a fact. I'm trying to tell you, a guy who is going to be pulling guns on a maybe constituent hardly has is in the position to be talking about elections by his rules and his law and all that kind of nonsense. You know.
No, but worse than that, Rick, is that when election is called, he ceases to have any powers. Because
yeah, but I suppose even when he's not in office, caller, 1 minute.
Sorry.
I suppose he can say that now because he can put things in place before elections are called.
That's what I was about to come to.
Well, exactly.
Unless he's going to put on his police commissioner cap or the governor general cap.
Anyway, thanks a lot.
Okay, Rick.
Yeah, but Corbinier is saying, I mean, I don't know anyone who takes Le Corbinier seriously anymore. Talk to me. Hello?
Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Mr. Chastanet. Good night.
Night.
Well, you know who it is. It's Ozzy.
Yeah, Ozzy. How are you, brother?
So that's it takes having Michael on my show for you guys to be calling.
Vouch.
Huh?
Yeah, Michael. Yeah. Well, Rick, I could vouch a lot for this gentleman. I worked with him from 1976 to 1983. And I learned a lot from him. In fact, he's my role model. The only thing about the two of us, I am
Ozzy boy,
flashier
Ozzy
than he is.
I take it you'll be at the launch tomorrow.
Aye.
Well, you can make that speech. On my show, everybody's going to say, well, what do you expect Ozzy to say about Michael Chastanet? You know what I'm saying? Ozzy.
Oh boy, I have so many great things to say.
Ozzy, are you hearing me?
I have so many great things
to say. Are you hearing me?
This gentleman.
Ozzy.
Don't forget, Ozzy, you're my outside son anyway.
Ozzy, are you hearing me? He's gone. He's gone?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, well, I said to you, people watching the show are going to say, well, what do you expect Ozzy to say about Michael Chastanet? So keep that speech for Saturday. Have you bought a book?
I'll keep that speech for Saturday, though I already have my book.
Okay, bye. Good night. Bye. Okay, let me go back to the chat room. What does I hear about a book? Where can I get it? You can come on Saturday. I think Saturday. Are you guys are we selling books on Saturday?
Yeah.
At the yard, that's at the Star. There's a big book launch. All the dignitaries, Derek Walcott, everybody's going to be there. So you can come to the Star on Saturday. What time?
It's 5
At 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
Come to
okay.
Rick's wife is going to be
let me just read this
money.
again. Yeah. Great lesson for those of us who are striving for success. It is possible to start small and grow, but it takes a lot of hard work, determination, and sacrifice. That's a fact. You have a call, Junior? Talk to me.
Hi, Rick. Good night.
Hello.
Hi. Good night, Rick.
Hi.
Hi. Good night, Michael.
Good night. Good night.
How you doing?
Good, brother.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
You know who's that?
Why do you guys want to have to know who this is?
Tell me.
Come on.
I know who that is. Yeah, Brother Charlie. Okay.
Oh, you're right.
Okay, Brother Charlie.
Oh, Charlie Radio.
Yeah.
Hi, Charlie.
I just called to congratulate my brother then.
Charlie, I think it's pretty disgusting that all you guys, you don't call the show, but Michael Shaw is on the show, so you call.
That's our partner.
All right.
Charlie, I want to say something to Charlie, because when Rick was asking me the questions, how we started, that's one of the things I forgot. How many St. Lucians, including Charlie, we took. Charlie was about 17 years of age when he came.
Oh, thanks, Charlie.
Yeah. And he started as a welder, ended up as a chief engineer. And I would say there were well over 150 St. Lucians who worked for us. And a lot of them are engineers and captains today and cooks and everything else. And I'm very proud of that. But thank you so much, Charlie, for everything.
And congratulations to the book.
All right, thank you very much. Let me read the chat room again. I love my chat room. My 94-year-old grandmother remembers working with and becoming good friends with Mr. Chastanet's mother. She helped take care of Michael Chastanet, Ronald, Olive, June, and remembers Alice as the youngest. Describes them as humble and kind people. Nice to hear your story, Mike. Another one, everybody and their granny knows Chastanet now. Everybody and their granny. I hope that's not a slight at Emma.
No.
Talk to me. Hello.
Hello, Rick.
Hi.
Yes, I am one that have been talking about Michael for quite some time. This guy's father was one of the person that had the first bakery in St. Lucia by the dairy. I was about 6 or 7 years. And this Mr. DeCoto used to work with the father. On the weekend, I would have gone with them to Vigi. His father's house was just when you turn around.
Was the bread good?
That's the first time I saw.
Was the bread good?
Very good indeed.
Okay.
And these people here that went to college, university, was when their mother and father used to go on the Michael David to Barbados to bring coals to sell, go to Trinidad,
Oh, you didn't even mention
and
the coal.
buy stuff and bring back to speculate. That's where it all started. When the Michael David and the Lady Joy was too small, he called in the Francassee. Then we had the Maple. All this time people smuggling the little monge, the panties to bring back to St. Lucia to sell to make a living.
Monge in the panties?
Yeah, no, they used to buy, we didn't have factories there making panties in those days. So you
you gotta get me right there, because I thought for a minute.
to sell back over here.
I thought for a minute you said they were carrying the monge in the panties.
No. Bottle of mangoes, you bring your panties, the bras, things, because we didn't have factories there. I was a young girl growing up then.
That's right.
Michael have always been good people. Alan and Alana, that's the first time I heard that name, Alana. Those children grew up at the end together with Wendy Bain children when Audrey was living at the entrance where they sell for bag shop. So when people talking about Alan or Michael like they came from the woods or they're white people, they're more St. Lucian than a lot of us.
All right, thanks a lot, caller. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Junior, can you flash me my pictures now? I promised you last week, and I want to thank all the people who suggested those things. They didn't all come from my head. Where are we, Junior? Not a word, not a word, not a word. You can get your t-shirt starting Tuesday at the yard. Not a word, not a word, not a word. Wear it with pride. This one, pissing in your eye and calling it rain. Remind them. And don't give up. And you see what they go, don't give up. Oh, somebody screwed up there. Don't give up. Give them up. That's the old one. We're going to have to change that in honor of the current girls. It's don't give up, set them up. So those shirts are available. I want to see them all over town. The quiet protest that Dr. King is talking about, the people, the civilian population. You don't have to open your mouth. Let your shirt speak for you. From Tuesday available. Talk to me. Hello?
Mr. Rick, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
All right, cool. Just wanted to let you know, Mr. Chastanet, that I'm a 21-year-old young businessman. And I wanted to thank you for sharing your life with us. It gives us hope that, there's one grown-up out there who can actually give us something to look forward to. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I ought to put in my own plug, because when I came to St. Lucia, he doesn't want to talk about that because it's a politics tied up that. When I first came to St. Lucia, May and I were oppressed and everything, and we could not find a place. Nobody wanted to rent out to us. It was almost as if people were afraid that, because they knew my work, and people were afraid to be my landlord to offer me a place to stay. And Mike practically built up a place for us, and that's where we started. Did quite a lot there, and moved from there only in 1997. I think we spent 10 years there.
10 years there.
10 years, yeah. And that's where it all started.
Yeah. And Rick is the one that's got me to start writing articles. Maybe he's forgotten that too.
True. Talk to me, caller.
Yes, good night, gentlemen.
Aye.
Yes, this question is to Mr. Chastanet. As a gentleman who has a background in the shipping business, do you think that ferry service among the OECS countries is still viable, and because there are issues with the reliability of that.
Yeah. I don't think a ferry service is viable, and I'll tell you why. Because between Martinique and St. Lucia is good. It's short, but the seas to Barbados and St. Vincent and Grenada is far too rough. I think what would be great is to get a small coaster, like a 400-500 ton vessel with 3 or 4 containers to move the vegetables around, and people could move a couple people, the hucksters, you know. But you know, I'll be honest, if you as you very well know, the ferry between Martinique and St. Lucia does extremely well because it's a short haul. But I would say that people could use a boat to move their produce and fly there, because people get as seasick and that kind of thing. The sea is not conducive to that around. That's my humble opinion. I could be wrong.
Okay, so that's about it. I want to thank you very much, Mike, and let me put another plug in there.
Yeah.
At the Yard on Saturday from 5 to 7, the book is available, and you can come and rub some shoulders with the elite writers of this country. The Yard is going to be the outlet for intellectual discourse, and notice I didn't say diplomatic intercourse, you know, intellectual discourse. So all the writers, you'll be surprised the books that we in fact made this with some help from Christiane Bobra. They were able to ferret out books by Walcott, on Walcott, books by Robert Lee, Kendall Hippolyte, and all these people, McDonald Dixon. We have a number of good writers, excellent writers in this country, without an outlet. And never mind that politicians don't want you to read. If you don't read, you're a tree. At which point I tell you again, don't forget to get your t-shirt starting Tuesday. In the meantime, don't give up. Set them up. Good night, Talk City.